Good morning, Wabash. All right, there we go. Today speaking at Pioneer Chapel is Dean Michelle Jannsen, Dean Stephen Jones, and Professor Michael Abbott with their talk entitled Binging to Belong, Want versus Need, and Dirty Laundry. Michelle Jannsen is her 7th year as Dean of College Advancement at Wabash College, a native of Cass County, Indiana, a proud Logansport Berry. Prior to serving at Wabash, she was the Vice President of Advancement at Berea College in Kentucky, where a full 60% of admitted first-year students are classified as first generation. Dean Jannsen attended Valparaiso University and served her alma mater for 18 years in various fundraising and advancement roles. She is a mid-major basketball fan, enjoys reading, going to the movies prior to COVID, and is an admitted shopaholic. She is married to Wade. Together they have a son, Noah, and a rescue mutt, Miss Sassy. As Dean for Professional Development since September of 2016, Stephen Jones oversees the programming of nationally ranked Schroeder Center for Career Development, the CIBE, and Wabash internships and student employment. He is humbled to lead the activities of the Malcolm X Institute of Black Studies, of which he was award-winning member during his 4 years at Wabash under the leadership of Horace Turner. He served as the chairman of the Institute as a junior, and he majored in economics with an area of concentration in African American studies. He graduated in 1983 from Arsenal Tech High School. He is a member of the CLD's Alumni Association. In 2014, was honored with the CLD Distinguished Alumni Award. In March of 2019, the board of directors honored him with the S. Henry Bundles Jr. Award for service to the CLD. At 28 years of age, he received one of the state's highest honors, the Sagamore of the Wabash, from Indiana Governor Evan Bayh. Jones is a graduate of Stanley K. Lacey Executive Leadership Program, the Indiana Healthcare Leadership Academy, and he was named a Hoosier Fellow at the Randall Tobias Center for Leadership Excellence. He's the president of the Financial Health Federal Credit Union Board of Directors, and has previously served at the Indiana Symphony Society, Circle Center Classic Parade, Super Bowl Host Committee, Indiana Black Expo, and the HR Association of Central Indiana, just to name a few. On a nice, sunny, warm day, you will catch him with his top down on a vehicle. Professor Michael Abbott is a member of the Wabash class of 1985. After receiving his graduate degree from Columbia University in New York, he moved to Milwaukee, where he taught at Marquette University before returning to Indiana in 1994 to join the Wabash faculty. He was a professor at Wabash to add a film course to the regular curriculum, and he directed over 30 theater productions. From 2007 to 2014, he wrote and hosted the Brainy Gamer blog and podcast, which was the highest-ranked single-author website devoted to video games in the world. In 2001, he was awarded the McLean-McTurnan Arnold Award for Excellence in Teaching. He is currently writing the musical score for the production of 39 Steps, which will be staged this April. His son teaches high school English and coaches baseball in Toledo, and his daughter is aspiring Thesian at Crawfordsville Middle School. His spouse is the best teacher at Wabash, and you should definitely take one of his courses. Now welcome our first speaker, Dean Michelle Jannsen.
Thank you so much, and I want to thank Professor Horton and his amazing committee for organizing this second annual celebration of first-generation students. So when Dr. Horton recruited us to speak, he told us that approximately 20% of all the current faculty and staff are first generation, and that approximately 30% of the current student body is recognized as such. So that's 50% of our Wabash community who were or will be the first person in their immediate family to walk across the commencement stage. I think that's pretty special. So I was lucky. My parents always assumed I would go to college. Yet, despite the confidence of my mom and dad, when I hit my teenage years, I began to nurse some doubt. I worried that I was underprepared for college, not academically per se, but in the would I fit in? And would I be out of place kind of way? Maybe some of you had some of those same doubts. Scholars who study first-generation students and college persistence now call my unease the fear of not being culturally prepared for the college experience. So to settle on my nerves and to kind of quell my unease, I embarked on a process that New York Times columnist, himself a first-gen student, termed Bingeing to Belong. Kind of a self-taught immersion course, if you will, in college prep, designed to get that A in looking and acting the part of a totally prepared college student. So beginning the sophomore of my high school year through the summer before I headed out to college, I grabbed books from the library that featured a professor or maybe were set in a college town, and then I devoured satirist Lisa Birnbaum's The Preppy Handbook, which I treated as gospel truth. The Preppy Handbook, for those uninitiated, introduced me to Sperry topsiders, the importance of pennies in my loafers, and how to pair pink and lime green together. The handbook also detailed instructions on how to throw a collegiate tailgate, and believe me, gentlemen, it looked nothing like a Wabash College tailgate. Even the movies Animal House and Caddyshack were in their ways instructive, and for extra credit, I had 3 years worth of fall back-to-school fashion magazines that I dog-eared with pages of clothes that I couldn't afford and that I could never find in Logansport. And then I had articles ripped out that I put in a folder, just like this one, with article titles like How to Act at Your Freshman Dance, How to Get Along with Your Roommate, and best, How to Talk to College Men. So, in binging all things collegiate, I never stopped to ask myself how I might approach and dedicate myself to my academic journey, or what was I going to do with this lofty baccalaureate degree. Nor honestly did my parents spend much time engaging me on these topics. I don't even think they would have thought to do so. So, armed with my A+ in college immersion, I began to think about heading off to college, pretty confident that I could fake it till I could make it. But sadly, 2 things occurred that were almost my undoing on that first weekend, my freshman weekend: a bathtub shampoo routine and a Chinese meal. So the morning that I left for college began like every other day in my house. I hustled into the bathroom so my sister wouldn't hog it, so I could wash my hair and kind of get ready in peace. That morning, I grabbed a fresh towel, I cranked the knobs on the bathtub, and I knelt down on the bathroom mat to flip my head over the side of the bathtub so that I could wash my hair. I made short work of it usually because I would bang my forehead on the spigot most days. Later that afternoon, after hauling myself up and all my stuff up 5 flights of stairs, I encountered my roommate, Joanne, and her parents. Her dad was a Valpo grad, and he played a few rounds of "Do you know so-and-so?" that thoroughly intimidated me and my folks, before he gamely asked me then to join them for dinner at a local Chinese restaurant. Now, sensing their chance to make a quick exit, Bob and Kathy Brown quickly handed me a $10 bill, gave me a hug, and beat it back to Cass County. So now, I love Chinese food, and so that evening, I chose my outfit with care. I dressed to impress, to meet some real, live, preppy people. And I was eager, frankly, to get my relationship with my roommate back on a good, solid footing. My unease was immediate. The prices were sky high, so I picked the cheapest thing listed. Unlike China Lane, which to this day is the best Chinese food in the world, everything was priced separately. Joanne's family ordered fancy drinks with fruit and umbrellas, appetizers, and a whole fish with its head still attached. And then when our orders came, Joanne's dad said, "We're going to eat our entrees family style." Quickly, I felt sick. I was really concerned that I wouldn't have enough money to cover my share. And then the topics over dinner kind of floated like soap bubbles, kind of hovering over my head, and I couldn't puncture them. Topics like charity events, the stock market, traveling abroad. Clearly, my college prep curriculum couldn't even get me through a single darn meal. And then suddenly, it got worse. Joanne began to talk about her summer mission experience in a poor part of the country. She confided to me that the experience was so bad because her host family couldn't even afford to have a shower in their home. She had to wash her hair over the tub every morning. Suddenly, that sense of being unprepared for college life, despite all my efforts, coupled with a sense of embarrassment about my perfectly acceptable house on Hannah Street, sand shower, nearly sent me into tears. So I didn't fit in. I would never fit in, and I just wanted to go home. So I guess I was lucky in that respect too. So long-distance phone calls, guys, were really expensive back then, and I knew I couldn't call home for at least a week. And although Valpo was only 75 miles from Logansport, I couldn't ride my bike, and there was no such thing as Uber. So you know what I did? I toughed it out. And I found my footing in the classroom, which was always my happy place. And I connected well with a few people, and gradually, I made it. I had a successful 4 years and graduated with a bachelor's degree in 1987. So, now that I've spilled the tea to the campus community, I'm going to tell you another secret. I still binge to belong, just a little bit, particularly when I think I may be out of my element. So I'll study the dress code very carefully before a big event, so to make sure that my outfit is just right. And I always review the restaurant menu before I go out for a night on the town. So I guess that's why Wabash fits me so very well. It's my home away from home. I'm never far from people who are more like me than my roommate Joanne. I don't have to binge to belong here. I know I belong.
Good morning, Wabash. Thank you to the Sphinx Club and Professor Bobby Horton for the invitation to reflect on being a first-generation college student. I am delighted to share this moment with my colleagues. Since I don't have long, and the introduction was very long, let me get right to it. To ensure we are on the same page, here's a little Google research to set the table for my remarks. A first-generation college student is defined as a student whose parent or parents have not completed a bachelor's degree. This means you are the first person in your family to attend a four-year college or university to attain a bachelor's degree. So now you may be asking yourself, am I a first-generation college student if my sibling went to college? Yes, being a first-generation college student means that your parent or parents did not complete a four-year college degree, regardless of other family members' level of education. Please note, older siblings and family members who attended college may be a phenomenal resource as you navigate your college journey. Google went on to share, ultimately, the term first generation implies the possibility that a student may lack the critical cultural capital necessary for college success because their parents did not attend college. While first-generation students are often quite academically skilled and contribute in many ways to a campus community, navigating the tangled web of college policies, procedures, jargon, and expectations can be a challenge. This pervasive hidden curriculum can damage the confidence of first-generation students lead to struggles in belonging, and result in departure. Now to my personal first-generation story, appropriately titled Want versus Need. The foundation for success, which included hard work, was set early in life. As a child, I learned to work hard, respect others, save for a rainy day, and be in a position to purchase what I wanted, not just the stuff I needed. Distinguishing the difference has impacted my life to this day. As a youngster, I cut grass, cleaned vehicles, shoveled snow, and had an American Fletcher National Bank Squirrels Club savings account that my mother made me open. I am certain she was on the account as well to monitor my spending. You have to love a mother's intuition and tremendous desire for her child to mature while developing and perfecting critical life skills. Despite their limited resources, my parents believed in my financial independence being developed, and want versus need always seemed to raise its head. One of the earliest lessons was the purchase of sneakers. They would pay for canvas Chuck Taylors, but if I wanted leather Dr. J's, I had to make up the difference. The valuable lesson of want versus need has stayed with me a lifetime and causes me to smile from time to time when I analyze a current situation. I also discovered that when my money was required to cover the expense or make up the difference, there were many items I no longer wanted. I wanted to go to Morehouse College. A close friend of the family was attending there, and the thought of being on the same campus that Martin Luther King Jr. matriculated on was intriguing. After some investigation, it became clear that my want would probably not come true. The ability to get home from Atlanta, Georgia, in my '68 Cutlass for breaks or a family emergency were pretty slim. While it was a good car, the additional mileage on the '68, purchased for $175, would have quickly added up. Lastly, I had to take into account the additional expense for clothes being across the street from Spelman College. The extremely casual look would not have worked well in that environment. If that went over your head, perhaps it will hit you at lunch. Here's a hint: Spelman was beautiful. In summary, being a broke, struggling college student near home was far more attractive than being a broke, enjoying life college student 8 hours from home. That helped me determine that I needed Wabash. How did I arrive at and graduate from Wabash College? You ask great questions. Statistically, Stephen L. Jones, a product of Indianapolis Public Schools, was a long shot to survive Wabash. My SAT score was not impressive. I did, however, embrace hard work, and I was blessed to have a strong, engaged village as a teenager from 1983 to '87. A village of protective, caring, nurturing, compassionate, tell it like it was people who would not accept failure from me. They may have embraced a setback for a moment or two, but never failure. Clearly, I had my moments of feeling defeated, overwhelmed, and not up to the task, but the support was strong and deep. It was strong and deep enough to allay my initial collegiate fears. This village was immediate family, extended family, including non-blood related family, neighbors, clergy, youth program leaders, coaches, MXI brothers, Martindale residents, and anyone else I encountered who had an encouraging word or insight for me to be more efficient and navigate Wabash College successfully. Once on campus, I realized the Wabash rigor was real. It was a reality check for the class president who graduated 12th in a class of over 700. It was time to get more serious about my education, as it had been super easy until Wabash. Prior to my arrival as a first-generation college student, I had no one suggesting, these are the 5 to 7 books you should read. contact professors before classes start, take advantage of office hours, build relationships, stay aware of current events, and learn how to prepare for a Blue Book exam. Nor was the book, The Privileged Poor, authored by Anthony Abraham Jack, available at the time. I was on my own, and I had thoroughly enjoyed the summer and my roving teller job with Merchants National Bank. Yet, I knew I needed Wabash. So how did I navigate through the tough first year and reach commencement? Most importantly, a great deal of prayer. I also relied heavily upon my brothers at the Toot and the good brothers at Martindale Hall for 4 years to show me the ropes and provide insight on how to survive the bash. In doing so, I created significant relationships that have lasted 35 years. The occasional discomfort and sometimes embarrassment of being a first-generation college student was overcome with the bonds I created. In the process, I learned the real value of reaching back and assisting others. Initially, I was staying up late to be helped, and then as an experienced upperclassman, I was the one showing a freshman how he could plan his work and work his plan to be more effective. The struggles were worth it. It wasn't easy, but my village was real. Reflect on these moments with me briefly. The occasional $5 bill. Yes, a $5 bill sent through the mail from Granny to cover dinner on Sunday. Flying for the first time to Washington, D.C. with classmate Jeff Cusick to witness the unveiling of the Martin Luther King Jr. bust in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. The continuous encouragement and trust of Horace Turner. Having dinner in the Sparks President's Dining Room with California Congressman Ronald Dellums to learn firsthand about his Anti-Apartheid Act of 1986, and having a conversation with Dick Gregory while on spring break in Atlanta, a few blocks from Morehouse. Only a Wabash education offered those unique, memorable, once-in-a-lifetime moments. Yet, I must ask, where was my camera phone to capture those life-changing moments? The essence of my village experience was topped off by my then 80-year-old something neighborhood babysitter attending commencement. It was a 90-degree day. Her baby had made it to the end zone, and she was determined to be there. Your similar first-generation college story is worth having, so make it happen. I encourage you to repeat the process. The assistance you need is on this campus. Don't be too proud to ask for help. In the end, it will be worth it. You can and will make a difference in the lives of your family and people you have yet to meet. I am certain of it. Yes, there were days I wanted to throw in the towel and leave Wabash, but I always went back to the basic question: what did I want versus what did I need? A crucial evaluation that may serve you well when the path is filled with obstacles. More than ever, we need each of you to go change our country.
Good morning. If you want to do a little deep knee bend, that'd be fine. If you need to stretch out a little bit, that's all good. I want to thank you for inviting me to speak today. It's a privilege for me to share the stage with Michelle and Stephen behind me. I hope you understand my relative insignificance at the college compared to these two. Michelle protects the financial lifeblood of Wabash during a time of tremendous economic uncertainty. I mean, ask yourself, is now, during a global pandemic and wild market fluctuations, the best time to ask folks for large sums of money? You realize how hard that is? And as for Stephen, has there ever been a time at Wabash when confronting injustice was more imperative or more spotlighted than it is now? Or better put, have we ever needed the MXI and its leadership more than now? So, get to work, Stephen and Michelle. I'll just be over there writing songs and teaching young men to pretend. I am a male graduate of an all-male school speaking to a nearly all-male audience, so obviously I will talk to you today about two women. One spent her life trying to change the world, the other just trying to make a living and raise her kids. And I want to talk briefly about what it means to be first gen, what it means in action. First, I'll tell you about Ella Baker. Ella Baker is probably the most significant leader and thinker of the 20th century that you've never heard of. She grew up in rural Halifax County, North Carolina, the granddaughter of slaves. She attended Shaw University, the oldest historically black college in the South, and the first to admit women. She graduated first in her class. She was a first-generation student. Ella Baker became the most important coordinator and intellectual force behind the civil rights movement. She was the prototype for what we now call a grassroots organizer, the essential element of any political movement. It is telling that Barack Obama, who, by the way, married a first-gen student, devotes 1/3 of his 2007 memoir to his work as a grassroots organizer in Chicago. He called it the best education I ever had, better than anything I got at Harvard Law School. An education that he said was, quote, seared into my brain. He has cited Ella Baker as his inspiration. Ella Baker's intelligence and keen organizational skills led her to a position as a national recruiter for the NAACP. Under her leadership, the organization grew 900% in 3 years, becoming a national entity. A few years later, frustrated by the NAACP's male-dominated bureaucracy, Baker resigned her position, although she remained an active member. In 1957, a group of black pastors met at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta to form the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Ella Baker was there. They needed a director. Historian Timothy Tyson describes the meeting this way. Dr. King preferred that someone other than Baker, a man certainly, and preferably a minister, serve as executive director, but there was no good alternative. Over King's initial resistance, Ella Baker became the first director of the SCLC. King agreed to the arrangement only if she agreed to work as acting director, holding a place for a man to be named later. Looking back, Baker later wrote, I knew from the beginning that having a woman be an executive director of the SCLC was not something that would go over with the male-dominated leadership. And then, of course, my personality wasn't right, in the sense that I was not afraid to disagree with the higher authorities. I was not one to say yes just because it came from Reverend King. That's first gen. That's first gen talk right there. Years later, Stokely Carmichael observed in an interview, the most powerful person in the struggle of the 60s was Miss Ella Baker, not Martin Luther King. Ella Baker was powerful because she was activated by an essential truth. She understood something that I believe first-gen students like her and me and many of you understand natively, and it is this. You build the world you want to live in yourself. No one else will do it for you. You do the work, and you keep going. Wabash, in fact, didn't teach me this. Those lessons came from my mother. But Wabash helped me understand and internalize those lessons. I may have come to Wabash self-reliant, but what was I to do with that? What world could I build? Wabash gave me tools and blueprints. It opened my eyes and taught me to dream. Wabash gave me what growing up poor with an abusive father could not give me, options. I will always be grateful to my alma mater for that, and I genuinely hope we are passing on those tools and blueprints and dreams on to all of you. A first-gen student understands how to get by, but I think we understand on a gut level something even more valuable. I think we're pretty good at seeing a thing for what it is. This week I watched an autocratic, self-serving narcissist gain, not lose, support in this country after 4 years of madness and lies. adding more than 5 million votes to his total from 2016. 250,000 dead by Thanksgiving in this country, 1,000 a day now, and the throng cries out, "Fire Fauci," and he smiles and eggs them on. You know, Ella Baker's most famous quote is, "Give light and people will find the way." The sad corollary to that beautiful idea would seem to be that if you deliberately obscure that light, people will lose their way. Of course, the hostile divide in this country is about more than Trump. He's an opportunist. Complexity is gnarly, gentlemen, isn't it? My generation has left a terrible mess for yours to clean up. So the question for me is, how do I respond to this moment that I'm in? What do I say? When I say, do the work and keep going, when I say, no one will do it for you, well, what does that mean in this moment? Well, I return to Ella Baker, and she is one step ahead of me. Late in her life, she said, quote, "You didn't see me on television. You didn't see news stories about me. The kind of role that I tried to play was to pick up the pieces or put together pieces." And then she said, "My theory is strong people don't need strong leaders. Strong people don't need strong leaders." Well, that's first-gen talk right there. I should mention that Ella Baker's words ring in my ears because Wabash taught me how to listen to women like Ella Baker. In this difficult moment, I also have a picture of my mother, a single mom raising 2 kids with few prospects. She was the Clinton County Circuit Court reporter, which means she's the woman you see in old movies sitting near the judge transcribing the proceedings. For extra money, she would record depositions for attorneys in town and type them up. Sometimes an attorney would come to our house to pick up a transcript she had typed the night before. More nights than I can count, I heard the clickety-clack of her IBM Selectric typewriter as I fell asleep. One day I saw her take a large bag to the front door for pickup, and I thought, wow, that's one long deposition. When the attorney arrived for the bag, I saw him pay her and pick it up, and I realized what it was. It was his laundry. She was doing his laundry. So my mother did what had to be done. She kept going. She kept us going. There were challenges, but there will always be challenges. She never had the chance to be first gen anything, but she made sure I did. She got busy. In 2013, the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, which resulted in the number of polling places in majority black Halifax County, Ella Baker's county, being reduced from 25 to 18. Voters saw the average distance to their polling place increase dramatically. Restrictive voter IDs laws were enacted. Black voter participation dropped as expected, or as you might say, as planned. That was Ella Baker's home, Halifax County. Had she been erased, disenfranchised even after death? Did all her accomplishments even matter? George Floyd, the Proud Boys, QAnon, there's very fine people on both sides. Come on, you didn't even know who Ella Baker was before I told you. But that's not the end of the story, because some people don't give up. They get busy, they organize, because that's how things happen. Because that bag of dirty laundry is grocery money. On February 5th, 2016, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the First District of North Carolina was gerrymandered along racial lines, which was unconstitutional. And they declared it must be redrawn. And they were redrawn. And it mattered. The attorney who argued that case, first gen. The judge who ruled in that case, first gen. By the way, that first congressional district at the center of the landmark case happens to be where Halifax County is. That's Ella Baker's home. Fast forward to 2020, a year none of us will ever forget. On June 3rd of this year, 17-year-old Nevaeh Hodges organized a peaceful Black Lives Matter protest in Halifax County, not far from where Ella Baker lived. People gave speeches, sang songs, and rapped. Nevaeh Hodges said racism is the deadliest disease in America for African Americans. Then she looked out at the crowd and said, "We are the cure. We are the cure." That's first gen. That's how we do. Next fall, Nevaeh Hodges will be the first person in her family to attend college. And the work continues.
A couple quick announcements. First, the first generation faculty will be passing out t-shirts back in the back. So if you fall in that category as a first generation student, make sure to check that out. Go talk to some of the faculty member and each other and kind of enjoy a nice day. The second thing I'd like to do is bring the Ryans up really quick. We just inducted a new honorary member, but he has not received his Sphinx Club pot. So I'd like to bring out Dean Stephen Jones one more time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Now let's join together and sing Old Wabash. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. From the hills of Maine to the western plain, or where the cotton's blowing, bloom be shaded in